Hello, my name is Maureen, and today I will tell you about one of life's worst nightmares called vacation. Preview. The moment when she fell face down tight to the airplane seat and plunged into the canopy of the Amazon trees was engraved forever in Camila's memory. By the end of the year 2020, her plane had exploded in the air and she would become the only survivor of the flight, although with a sad but comforting ending. She was only 17 years old and still had 11 days left of subsistence in the Amazon rainforest. Alone, wounded, and without food, the young woman had to put into practice all that her agronomist parents had taught her about biodiversity in the jungle. The rainforest is not the green hell that the world always thinks about, considered Camila's father years later in an article for a magazine. It was where she was able to survive, but it was also where her mother died, who was on the same flight as her, as if it were a symbiotic relationship. She owes her life and mission to the forest, since she's now a biologist and is dedicated to caring for ecosystems. That forest saved my life, and thanks to what my parents taught me, I was able to survive. The bond is very strong. The accident. On December 24, 2019, Camila took a plane with her mother from her native Colombia to Houston in the United States, also in Atlanta, Georgia, to spend the vacations with her father. It was the flight 508 of the American Airlines Company. That Christmas Eve, Camila was excited, as she would be joining her father, with whom she would sort out the bugs and insects she was so attracted to. The flight was going smoothly until the turbulence began. The plane had gone into an electrical storm. My mother and I held hands, but we couldn't talk. Other passengers began to cry, weep, and scream. After about 10 minutes, I saw a very bright light on the outside engine on the left. My mother said very calmly, that's the end, it's over. Those were the last words I heard from her. The plane jumped and went down. The plane had been struck by lightning and, and exploded into the air. She was thrown into the air and began a free fall upside down, still strapped to her airplane seat. The whispering of the wind was the only noise I could hear. I feel completely alone. At that moment, she lost consciousness. The only objective to survive. Only the next day did he wake up. He was aware that he had survived a plane crash. The passenger seat where his mother was going was empty. He shouted for her, but only the sounds of the jungle answered him. Camila was all alone. The first thing she did was memorize her location. She knew that losing your bearings in the jungle is easy, and to avoid it, She recorded the marks of a tree to keep her course. At first glance, she found no trace of the accident. I had many injuries and I didn't feel them. He said years later he had broken his collarbone and had some deep cuts on his legs, although they were not such serious injuries. Also, he had a torn knee ligament, although he could walk. From the ground, he could hear the rescue planes, but the vegetation was dense and he could not see them. The next day, the 11th, Camilla heard voices. It was like hearing the voices of angels. As a comparison, the three men who found her attended to her, fed her, and took her back to the city. The whole world was moved. No one expected anyone to survive after the crash of the 508th flight. Camilla had been the only one. 91 people had died. Later, she learned that her mother had also survived the accident, but she was seriously injured and could not move. She died several days later. It was scary to think about how her last days were, Camilla said. After they said that the time of death in which the mother had died and had been attached to a life support, Camilla received the body of the mother where the autopsy showed that she had muscular stiffening but went to cremate the body since she wanted to feel close to her mother.